Dr. Ben Carson. He's a neurosurgeon at Johns Hopkins down in Baltimore. Good morning to you, doctor.
Good morning.
And the reason you're making a couch call today is because you were at the National Prayer Breakfast last week and you had some common sense suggestions for this government on how to get things going. We want to play a couple of sound bites for you and get your reaction because a lot of people appreciate what you say. First of all, here's the President of the United States last night talking about doing all he can for the middle class.
We won't grow the middle class simply by shifting the cost of health care or college onto families that are already struggling, or by forcing communities to lay off more teachers and more cops and more firefighters. Most Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, understand that we can't just cut our way to prosperity. They know that broad-based...
All right, doctor. He says we can't cut our way to prosperity. I know that's what a lot of Republicans would like to do, more spending cuts. He would like to spend more. You are an independent. What did you think of the president's address last night?
Well, you know, I thought it was a very good delivery. He always has a very good delivery. Very lofty ideals, sort of like the lofty ideals some years ago of cutting the deficit in half. But, you know, it sounds good. But, you know, this whole thing about the middle class, you got to realize you're the president of everybody, upper class, middle class, and lower class. And what we need to be doing is coming up with policies that work for everyone. When all the interlocking parts are functioning well together, then we have a strong union. And I can understand coming from a background of a community organizer where it's sort of us against them and we got to get ours. But, you know, that's not what we are, and that's certainly not the position I think the leader of the nation should be in.
It was interesting to hear, Dr. Carson, the word investment, because as you are pointing out, that sounds wonderful. Who would be against investment? But the bottom line comes down to who's going to pay for it. And here are some of the proposals where people will have to pay something. Minimum wage from $7.25, it's going to go up if the president gets his way to $9. Expanding preschool programs, $40 billion towards infrastructure, and combating climate change. We didn't hear necessarily last night about who would pay for it. What do you think?
Well, of course, the taxpayers will pay for it. There's no question about that. But one of the reasons that, you know, I am so enthusiastic about God's plan, which is a flat tax or a tithe, is because everybody has skin in the game. When everyone has skin in the game, I think that's what the framers of the Constitution intended. Everybody to be treated the same. If everybody has skin in the game, you're not going to have one group saying, yeah, let's raise the taxes because they know that they're not having any. But if everybody is paying a percentage, it makes the government much more reluctant to do things like continue to raise taxes because they got to face the ire of everybody, not just 1% or 2% or 5%. That was the beauty of the way that we framed our Constitution. We need to go back to egalitarianism.
And Dr. too, I also heard the buzz terms last night, fair share, the rich have to pay a little bit more in order, you know, to help everybody else out. So we're still hearing a lot of those same words in the same tone, even though we already got a tax increase. I was surprised to hear that, to be honest.
The rich do pay more.
Yeah.
The rich do pay more. The top 1% pays 37% of the taxes. The top 5% pays 59% of the taxes. They don't make 59% of the income, so they already do pay more. But, you know, again, if they go back to a tithing system, you make $10 billion, you pay $1 billion, you make 10, you pay 1. That is so simple. That is so fair. Why do we think that we're smarter than God?
Why do you think there's such a disconnect between your version and vision for taxes, which is fair, the billionaire pays 10%, everybody else pays 10% as well, whereas the President of the United States, you know, he says billionaires and millionaires need to pay their fair share, which means they essentially carry the water for the rest of the country?
Well, I think it's a philosophical difference. I believe that this is a country that is for, of, and by the people. There are others who believe it's for, of, and by the government. And there's a natural tendency. If you go back and you look at the writings of the people who founded this nation, they talk about how there's a natural tendencies for governments to get bigger and more powerful and to drain the power of the people. They created a constitution that hopefully would stop that from happening. But as more and more people begin to believe in revisionism, and that the Constitution is old, then we're going to have more trouble. And we need to understand who we are.
You know, you're speaking personally because you grew up with adversity, single-parent situation, not in the best of neighborhoods. You turned out to be one of the most prominent neurosurgeons in the world. Why do you think people are so angry at the message that you're speaking about? Shouldn't people look at you and think, wow, that's an admirable accomplishment?
Well, first of all, you know, the vast majority of people are delighted. You know, I ran into somebody yesterday,
It's the
very
left.
left-wing, said that I'm left of Lenin, she said, but I loved your speech and I loved your ideals. You know, some people don't think that we the people are supposed to be able to address, you know, the leadership. That's not true. We should be able to put our ideals out there too. We should be able to discuss these things in a rational way without demonizing people and ascribing all kinds of intentions to them just because they don't agree with us.
Dr. Carson, I watched your whole speech afterwards. I was working during the prayer breakfast. But afterwards, I was just wondering, did you have any interaction with the president after the speech or any of his people? Were anybody upset by how direct you were?
I had interaction with the president himself. He was very cordial, said he enjoyed my remarks and admired me, and a warm handshake. Did I hear from some of his people? I heard from some people that the president and the White House was upset, but I haven't heard that from them. And, you know, I don't pay a lot of attention to stuff that I hear secondhand.
All right, Dr. Ben Carson, neurosurgeon, author.
That might be the best thing you said.
He's retiring soon, so he could end up in politics.
Listen, your book is fantastic. Dr. Carson, thank you very much for joining us today from Baltimore. You're in the white coat. It looks like you've got a busy day ahead of you. Thank you, sir.
Got a lot to do. Thanks. Bye-bye.